Coaching at the college level is tough. You've got recruiting, you have budgeting, you have alumni, you have team building, you have game planning, you have all these things that go into it, and it's hard to do it all, let alone do it well. Whether you're a part-time head coach who has no assistants or you're a full-time head coach with 5 or 6 assistants, it's a lot and it's hard to manage it all. But luckily, AI is here and AI can help in a big way. And I'm going to show you how. Today, I'm going to show you how to build a team of AI assistants that you can use to get things done. Not only just get things done at a basic level, but get them actually done really well and maybe even better than you would otherwise. My name is Dan Christensen, and this channel is Automating Dan, where I am learning how to use AI and automation tools to save time, save energy, and spend more time on the things that matter to me. Many of you that are watching this right now might know me from my work with Dan Tudor at Tudor Collegiate Strategies, where I help him and the rest of the staff work with college coaches to help them with their recruiting. And so today I wanted to do a video that was specifically for college coaches and showing them how they can use some of the things that I've learned about using AI, using automations to help them with their coaching staff and coaching responsibilities. I understand that there's going to be a varying level of coaches watching this video that are on the range of never even touched AI, touched ChatGPT, never even really heard of any of these tools, to some coaches that maybe are using it fairly regularly. Whichever direction that you go in, today we're going to learn something really cool that's going to help you progress in your ability to use AI effectively in your job of coaching. Now, there's some skepticism that some of you guys might have about what is artificial intelligence. Is it safe? I know I've heard lots of negative things, and so I don't really want to touch that. I'm just going to keep coaching the way I've been coaching, and I get that. I understand. It's hard when something's new and you're hearing a lot of different opinions, and there's lots of people that are talking about it in a negative way, and there certainly are some bad things, some bad ways that it's being used, but there are tons of great ways that AI can help people in all kinds of ways. And I really want to focus on showing you how it can be helpful for college coaches. So if you're someone that's kind of skeptical, someone hesitant, you're like, this is not really for me. Or maybe you feel, hey, I don't really know much about computers and programming and all that kind of stuff that's way over my head, so this probably isn't going to be for me. That's not the case at all. It's super simple and anybody can use this. I'm going to show you how, and it's going to be helpful. I'm not going to spend a ton of time explaining what artificial intelligence is and boring you with all those details. But essentially, we're going to be using a tool today called ChatGPT that many of you have probably heard of. It is a tool that has an insanely large knowledge base. It's pulled data and information and recognized patterns from lots of information that has been fed into it. And then it can give us that feedback, give us that information to interact with us at a kind of more human conversational level with that knowledge base in mind. There are other tools similar. You may have heard of Google's Gemini, or Anthropic has one called Claude. Elon Musk and X came out with Grok. There's all kinds of different tools like this. We're going to use ChatGPT today. You can do a lot of this in those tools if you prefer using them or if you've used those before, but I'm going to share with you how to do it in ChatGPT. Almost all of these tools have an option to use them for free, and you can do a lot with it. The project that we're going to work on today, you do specifically need a subscription, which for most of these tools, it's about $20 a month. Which isn't really bad for what I'm going to be able to do with this. So if you want to replicate this, I want to just tell you up front, you are going to need to probably get that subscription to be able to create this project that we're going to work on. All right, so let's get into it.
All right, so this is the ChatGPT interface here. If you've never used it before, this is what it looks like. There is this text box that you can type in, just as you would in a Google search bar or anything like that. If you've used ChatGPT before, you probably know a lot of these things I'm about to share with you, but I wanted to kind of go through a few examples of things that ChatGPT can do, just so those of you that haven't used it before or aren't familiar can understand really what this is, how it works. So it can be very similar to Google, where you just search for something and it's going to give you the answer. So, where is Harvard University located? Cambridge, Massachusetts. Boom. All right. Not that impressive because, we can go on Google and search that. We've been able to do that for a while. So that's nothing that's brand new, but it is capable of doing that. Let's try something a little more complex. Let's say something a little bit deeper. It's more than just like a single answer, but asking it to search for something and then kind of actually rank them based off of what it finds and eliminate the ones that aren't in the top 3. And so it's kind of doing that on its own. And so as you can see here, it's kind of giving us the feedback, giving us the number 1, March 5th, 2022, Coach K's final home game, shares the result, why it's famous, which is great. I didn't even need to ask it that. I probably, could have, asked for more details and said, hey, can you give me the result? Ask me and, tell me why it's famous. But it was smart enough to just say, hey, they're probably going to want this information. Let's give it to them. So it gives me these 3, and that's pretty cool. So just got some information, something, I could have Googled this, and I probably could have found a website that maybe had this already, or had a list of games, and I could have myself kind of determined, which ones I thought were most important, and done a little research on them. But instead, in a matter of, what was that, 10 seconds, I got some really good feedback. So that was cool. Now, what else can we do with this? All right, so now it's going to take that information I just provided, and instead of just giving it in kind of a list format, it's going to write a paragraph, an article with 5 paragraphs. And so it makes it a little bit more of, something that you can post on a blog or on a website that will share about these games and describes it. So again, pretty cool. Something else that we can do with this, I'll let it finish here. You can type while it's finishing. It'll if you want to stop it, you can press the stop button here. But I'm gonna let it finish. But I'm gonna start typing. Let's actually have it rewrite this. Let's see what happens. So that's the thing with ChatGPT. It's gonna give you what it can with the best context that it has, or what it thinks you want. But you can train it to write and do things in a certain style, in a certain way. And so now we're asking it to write as if it were Stephen A. Smith writing this 4-paragraph article about these 3 greatest games in the Duke UNC rivalry history. So this is all pretty cool. We can do this forever. We can experiment with some different things, and it's fun. It's very very cool. How can this actually help you as a college coach? So this can help you do the different things, the different responsibilities that you have as a college coach: recruiting, fundraising, developing team culture, game planning, practice planning, all those things. It's going to use its wide knowledge base to help you brainstorm ideas, create plans, create content, find ways to do things faster, more efficiently, and better quality. Before we get into what I want to work on here, this project of creating a team of AI assistants, I want to walk you through real quick a good prompting framework that you can use. You don't have to use this every time, but I feel like it's helpful when you want to get something really quality out of your prompt that you give ChatGPT. And so the acronym is RACE. R is role, A action, C context, E expectation. Role, action, context, expectation. So for this example, let's say we want to create a personal coaching mentor, someone that's going to mentor you as a college coach throughout your career. So what we're going to do is, and you don't actually have to type out role, action. I'm going to do it for this example just to kind of show you. You don't have to do that, but as long as you include those things, it'll be really effective. So action. What do I want it to do? So C is context. All right, this is a really important one because we wanted to know more context around the situation, what we're trying to get done. So I'm going to make up a situation here. The nice thing for you guys is you are coaching at actual schools, and so it's going to actually be able to take some of the context of the university that you put in. If you're doing this example, I'm making up a university. This is what we call our online course at Tutor Collegiate Strategies. So I'm just going to use that as an example. I'm going to actually tell it that this is not a real college too, so it's not searching for something that doesn't exist or making up something. All right, that's all I'll give it, but you could go way more in depth with this, but giving it some context is super helpful so that it knows more about you, what you're looking for, what the situation is. And then E is expectation. So this is, kind of, it's optional because you can just kind of say, hey, give me whatever you want to give me, but if you want it to be giving you something in a clear way, this is where you can put that. So I'm going to say, all right, so I gave it the role of a college coach mentor. Action, I want the 5 key skills. Context of who I am, and then I want it in a list. Also sharing why these are more important, but also how I can improve on these. All right, so let's see what happens here. So I'll kind of skim through. You can read, but just kind of giving me a quick refresher, which is also helpful to kind of see, all right, it understood what I gave it for context and kind of who I am. And then it's going to give me the 5 skills. So I'll let it keep going, but first one is breaking down recruiting and talent evaluation. Best coaches are also the best recruiters, period. You can be the greatest X's and O's coach in the world, but if you don't get the right players, you're going nowhere. And D1 basketball, it's 80% recruiting, 20% everything else. So it's kind of giving me the explanation of why this matters, and then it's giving me some ways to improve it. So expand your recruiting network, master the transfer portal, develop a personal recruiting system to track player development and tangibles, work elite camps, and study successful recruiters. Watch how D1 recruiters operate. Awesome. So give me the skill, show me why it's important, show me how to improve. And so that's super helpful. If you're a coach, especially if you don't already have some coaching mentors that are helping you grow, and if you're a young coach too that is just trying to get into this, I think this is really helpful advice. It goes on to player development, individual skill growth, talking about how you can improve that, X's and O's, offense, defense, mastery, explains why it's important, gives it the ways to improve, leadership, culture, and program building, and then building a coaching network and career advancement strategy. All right. Then it gives some final thoughts. So you've already put in the work. That's about developing the skills, and then it says, "Hey, here are the next steps." So based off of kind of summarizing everything it put, it's giving me the next steps: 10 D1 coaching clinic, works in our elite camp, shadow a D1 a pro coach, keep winning at Tutor University, 80 higher winners. All right. So pretty cool, very helpful. One aspect of the being a college coach, I could just say, hey, maybe I've got a bunch of other questions that I want to ask this coaching mentor, and I can go at it and just start giving it some of these questions and get some more advice. Or maybe I want to dive deeper into one of these and say, hey, I want to actually do a better job at number 5. Can you give me some other ways that I can do to help me come up with a plan for building my coaching network? Give me some more details on these 4 bullet points, things like that. You can always ask it for more, and it's going to give you more. Sometimes it might get to a point where you're like, all right, we're kind of getting the same thing over and over again. But just like when you are talking with a recruit, the more that you can ask it to go a little bit deeper, the better results you're going to get. So you can always ask for more. The other thing that you can do that's really helpful, and we'll do this throughout this process, is ask it what else it might need to know. And so I can say, all right, and so I shared what I thought would be helpful, but you can ask it what would be helpful for it to know. All right, so it's going to come up with a list of things. So right off the bat, it's asking for career goals, timeline. What's your ideal career path? Do you want to head straight to a D1 head coaching job or be an assistant first? Do you have a timeline for moving up? Would you be open to other stepping stones? It talks about your coaching style, recruiting, and network strategy. So it's kind of just asking, hey, if you can give me some more details on all this stuff, it's actually going to help improve the responses that you get from future prompts. Now, this is really cool, super helpful, but the reality is I don't want to necessarily have to give it all this information every single time. There is some aspect of memory with ChatGPT, but they've figured out ways to help for people that want to create someone that is kind of a consistent assistant that they can be reaching out to and prompting with these questions without having to give it, all this context every single time. And so ChatGPT has something called custom GPTs. If you go onto Gemini, I think they call it Gems there, and Claude, which is another tool, has things called projects. I think they're all kind of the same thing. You're creating a custom assistant that is going to help you with things. So you're not just using the generic prompt box on ChatGPT, but you're going to a specific custom GPT that is, for example, this personal coaching mentor. Now, to create a custom GPT, it might sound a little bit advanced, might sound a little tricky. It is not. It's definitely very easy to do. There's a few different ways that you can do it. So, like for this example, we've already gone through a lot of the process of like building up this personal mentor. Maybe I answer all these questions, and what you can do is you can ask it. So you can do that, and it's going to give you a response. It's going to help you go through that. It's probably going to ask you for some more questions, and all that stuff. But the cool thing is you don't really have to do that here. We're going to get back to this method in a little bit when we create a team, because I think there's going to be a little bit more of an effective way to do that. But what you can do is you can actually go right into custom GPTs. If you go up to the top here, there's a spot that says My GPTs. You can click Create a GPT, and then there's two paths. You can either type in the information here, which is probably the way that you would do it if you went back to the previous chat and said, can you give me any instructions? It'll give you all this information. You copy and paste it, put it in here, and you're good. The nice thing is you can actually just do that from this page here, and it's going to turn that into the custom GPT. So let's do this. I'm going to do it, from scratch here. I probably won't go all the way in depth. There's way more that you could probably do with this, but all right. Right, we'll just do that, and we'll see what happens next. And it's going to kind of walk you through like what you need to do. Usually it kind of starts with saying, all right, let's create a name for this GPT, and maybe we can make a little logo so that you can have that there, but then it'll get into more of the details of what it needs to know from you to make this really effective. How about Coach's Corner Mentor? You can say, no, actually I wanted something else, but I'll just, sounds good. Doesn't matter too much for this example. So it's going to automatically generate a profile picture. Again, you can, create your own, upload it. I'll just use the example here so that we have just something quick. So we'll clipboard with a whistle. Looks great. The nice thing about ChatGPT is you can just talk to it. You don't need to necessarily know exactly what you should be typing. Just type kind of in your head as a human what you think, and it does a great job of communicating with you. So now it's already now saying this is, try it out in preview. Let me know if you like any refinements so I can test it out here as I go. And then it says, what's the first thing you'd like help with in your coaching journey? So you can answer that. This is where you can just kind of have the freedom to just go and start, figuring out what you want to put in here. What I like to do, especially in the beginning, is just try to ask it what it would want to know from me, because I think that's more helpful than me, trying to think off the top of my head. All right, what should I tell it? What do you think it would be important? And instead, just ask it what's important. So kind of like we did before, when we were asking it to, what would it need to know. I'm going to do the same here. So. Oh. All right, so great question. To make it more effective and tailored as possible, I'd love to know, and it's going to go in through all these things. So I'll do them, again, real quick. I would highly suggest doing it way more in depth, because it's going to just help it be more effective, more customized to you. And again, you're not having to do this. You can always go back and edit it, but if you don't have to go through and give it all this context every single time, that is super helpful. So the way I like to do it, I'll just go bullet point by bullet point. So number one is say your coaching level and experience. All right, this is, again, where you can go way more in depth with your coaching philosophy. Some of you might already have this kind of written out for maybe when you put together a resume, or we're getting hired for a job, you kind of put this in writing, or maybe for your master's program. So you can bring a pull from that and put some of that in here. I'm just going to do that for now again, just to kind of make this quick. All right. So I'll just send that off. It's got those details. All right, so now it is summarizing what it has done to help with kind of what I've shared. Again, saying try it out. Let me know if you need anything or find, and so I can start chatting with you here. This is just a preview, but I could start asking for some advice. Now, I think there's lots of different ways that you can go with this. So, when I think about for this specific role, I want to have it be, it's going to search the knowledge base that it has. I want the knowledge base to be based off of coaches that I either align with or just successful coaches. That's kind of what I want this, if it was my ideal real person mentor, that's what I would want. And so I want the custom GPT to be able to do that as well. And so we'll get into that as for like the other part of this that I'll do here in a minute. For other areas of being a college coach besides just a mentor. Because what I actually don't want to do, and I find it's, with custom GPTs, it is helpful to have them be fairly specific. You can have them be general. Maybe the coach mentor does everything for you. It's going to help with recruiting. It's going to help with, team culture building. It's going to help with fundraising. It's going to help with alumni engagement. It's going to help with all these things. Yes, that's possible. You could do that, and that's definitely a route you could go. If you wanted to just have this one go-to GPT that can help with everything, it would definitely be great. I think what would be helpful is for us to be able to have different kind of departments almost within your program, a different AI assistant that helps with specialized things. And so, like for this example, this is a mentor, but we have other areas besides, just someone that mentors you in your coaching career. I want someone that's going to help with, again, recruiting specifically, fundraising specifically, alumni engagement, building team culture, branding and social media. That's a big one that coaches often put to the side because there's just not enough time for it. So I want assistants that can help with all of those specific things. So again, you can add more to this, kind of give it as much detail as possible, get some influences, keep asking it, keep prompting it to ask you what it would need or things that would be helpful. Once you're done, you just can click create. Update that. Now I can click on View GPT. And so now we're back to the chat box, but instead of just the generic ChatGPT chat, this is specifically the Coach's Corner mentor that we created. So now I can go to this and say, hey, I've got questions about my coaching career, things that I want to grow in, things I want to learn about, things I need help with. This is where I'm going to go to ask that advice. But we're going to take this a step further, and we're going to create a team of AI assistants that are going to help with all different areas of my responsibilities as a college coach. And so I know for some of you, this is going to be huge because you are a solo coach by yourself. Some of you might even be just part-time head coaches with no assistants, and you are going to have to figure out how to do all this on your own. Now, some of you might have maybe a head coach with 5 assistants, and it's still a lot to manage. There's different things that you have to do that you want help with that maybe your assistants are just their plates are already full, and you want help with that. So what we're going to do is create a team of assistants, and we're going to do this in what they call a project. And this isn't necessary, but I think the project helps because it keeps things a little bit organized and clean, and I can go back to it. You can do that in a chat. There is a chat log of all your chats, and so you can do that. But I'm going to do a project because I've just found that's a helpful way to kind of organize this. All right, so what we're going to do here is we are going to create a project. If you go on the left side here, there's a little open sidebar. This is where you'll see all your custom GPTs. I've got a bunch of them. And there's a spot for projects. And so I will say coaching assistance. Great project. Close the sidebars for more space. And so this is what the inside of a project looks like. So there's the normal chat. You can also add files. You can add instructions. And so there's kind of just a way to keep it a little bit more organized. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt it and give it a little bit of context and then kind of tell it what I want this project to be. So also, just so you know, ChatGPT, like spelling, you can usually make mistakes and it doesn't really matter. It's pretty good about handling that. So I kind of gave it some context of who I am, what I'm looking to do here, gave it some examples, and I wanted to give me some other potential areas of so budget management and team operation logistics. That's a good one. That would be super helpful. Productivity and time management, that is huge. Player development, strength and conditioning, I think a player development one could be helpful. Academic support, eligibility compliance, scouting, opponent analysis. I think that's kind of game planning. Team culture and leadership building. So lots of good things here. Let's just add these. Well, so something like that. So I kind of want to go through each one and let's dive into it further and talk about the details, talk about how we want this set up, give it as much context as we can, and what it's going to do in the end is I want to essentially have it give me a set of instructions so I can create a bunch of these custom GPTs that I can then call on for specific help with certain tasks or brainstorming, planning about something. There's way further, way beyond my knowledge base, ways that you can be using ChatGPT to automate things, create, AI agents. Error there. And so, I want to be able to make sure this is as effective as we can. Like I said before, like you can make just one and it be your ultimate coaching assistant, and it is really good at all of these things. But I think having each individual one is helpful because what it can do is then, really focus in on the knowledge needed for those. So after all that, it said which one do you want to start with. So let's see. Let's start with. I'm actually going to start with team culture and leadership building. And I could just go with that and let's see what happens. I'm going to give it a little bit more context. So, all right. So core philosophy and values. Give a mission statement. Are there any specific leadership qualities? Leadership development of players. How do you currently identify and develop player leaders? So it's giving me a lot of good stuff. Team culture initiatives. Do you have any traditions, mottos? Mental and emotional development, coaching and communication style, conflict resolution and team challenges, measuring and tracking culture growth. Let's see. So it goes through all these things that I can share more about. Would you like this assistant to generate structured plans, a season-long leadership curriculum? That'd be cool. Something that maybe I can work on with my captain specifically, like a captain's kind of curriculum or course or plan that we can work on together to help them grow as leaders. Or maybe it's something for everyone. Or provide instant brainstorming ideas when you need help with a specific situation, or both. Let me know how you want it to function so I can shape it to be as useful as possible. So awesome. So this is great. This is a ton of stuff here. I'm not going to spend time actually going through all this because you could probably take an hour if you wanted to, making this super specific. And I think if you really want to commit to this, I think you should hang on an hour, but you can take a long time. What you could do too is like if you were if you've got this written down, which I know a lot of people probably do, whether it's from something you did in your master's course or maybe you just have it put together for your resume or when you've went to go get hired for the job you're at, you kind of put together some core values and stuff like that. So I would give it all this detail, and that'll help it kind of shape what you want. Now for this, like I like that it gave these ideas. I think both are great. I wanted to do both. I would love it for it to generate structured plans, but also provide an instant brainstorming ideas, or both, like I said. So I think that'd be great. That's an awesome way to use this to really be effective. Now, I'm gonna do things a little bit differently because I just don't want to take the time to do all this right now for you. That would be pretty boring. But I think there's another way that we can use this, and something that I did for a project for myself, for just my social media, channel and stuff like that. I want to call on the expertise of other people. Maybe I'm a young assistant and I've got some ideas, got some things that I want to do, but I'm still trying to learn. And even if you're not a young assistant, you're probably still, trying to learn, how to build a good team culture. So what I'm actually going to do is say, so uh, one, you could make a list. Maybe you have a list of people that you really like. Let me say, for example, let's do that for now. I think we can go beyond this because I think going beyond just coaches would be great because there's going to be other people, and I'm sure many of you have read books from people that talk about building culture and that kind of thing that is just unrelated to college athletics. But for now, we'll just stick with this. So can you give me a list of 10 others that are well-known coaches that built great team culture within their programs and were successful? All right. 10 legendary coaches who are known for building elite team cultures and developing leaders. All right, so John Wooden, who I already mentioned, Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich. Let's give me a list of people. Now what I can do is I can say, hey, I want to, it's going to give me even more. So I'm just going to, while it's doing that, I'm going to keep typing. If you're curious, let's see what the other ones were. Dean Smith, Bill Walsh, Lance Dorrance, Tony Dungy, Gino, Pete Carroll, Mike Krzyzewski. So those are the examples that I give. So I could have chosen from any of those, gave a little bit of details on them, what they're known for, their focus. So this is helpful because maybe what I would have done instead is said, hey, I want an example of 10 people that have this kind of leadership style that goes along with my leadership style. So that way they're all kind of the same. Or maybe you take it a different direction and say, hey, I actually want like 5 that are kind of differing. That way I get a few different takes, and I can kind of figure out what is most effective. So you got a blend. So this, you can kind of do it however you want. But that focus, that leadership style, that's something that I could have given it more context on. All right. So let's see. So top 10 non-coaches known for team leadership and team culture. So we've got all these people. It kind of gives them the example of what they're known for. So again, I'll just pick the top 3. Okay. All right. So it's giving me the influence. Here are some key questions to refine its design. And so How would you like it to interact? Brainstorming partner, step-by-step planner, problem solver, quick inspiration, all of the above. I'd probably say all of the above for that. What types of responses do you want? Direct advice, philosophical insights, practical action steps, real-life examples. So again, this is where you can kind of customize it. If you want to say like, you know, a specific one, great. If you want to say, I'll kind of ask, I'll give that context. You know, when I prompt you, that's fine too. Would you like structured programs built in preseason culture building program, player leadership development? So these are all good. I think it's not necessarily something we need to worry about too much now, because we can go into that. Once we've created it, we can go in and we can ask it for ideas and plan things, so we don't necessarily need to do all that. So this is all good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to now give me the instructions that I can copy and paste into a custom GPT that I showed you before. That way we can just build this and it's ready to go. Before we do that, though, I want to offer one other option for you. This is something that I did and I feel like is actually pretty helpful. I don't... I love this. I think this is cool. It makes it very, it kind of makes it more realistic. And so now you're getting the difference of opinions on each one. So if you say, hey, I want my, you know, develop my leadership philosophy, here's kind of what I think. Can each of you, you know, give me your own personal opinions on what this should be? And so there might be conflicting views, might be conflicting opinions. And so you can put that in here and say, hey, that's okay. I actually, you know, want that. You know, so I want them to talk to each other and persuade each other on the best options. I'll even put here, it is okay if there is disagreement. But then I want them to, let's see, I want to come to a conclusion as a group on how we should proceed. And so you can treat it like that. This is optional. You don't have to do this if you're like, oh, I don't like that idea. I just rather it. Just give me an answer. Don't bother with this. But this is something that I think is kind of interesting. And so it's almost like you have these 6 people kind of on your staff in a department that is specifically about, you know, team culture and leadership. So you can do this. But we can also say, you know, all right, so that's just an option too. If I say, hey, you know, I really just want, you know, Simon Sinek, what does he say about this? I don't necessarily want to hear it from everybody else. I just want to focus on that. You have that option. All right, so I did all that. Now I'm going to say, all right, and so hopefully here in a second we're going to get the information. I can copy and paste this. I can open up a new window, go again in this top right here, go to the GPTs, custom GPT, and then fill in the information that it's giving us here. All right, now, again, I'll let it kind of work through. It's going to give me that information. After we do that, then we can move on to the next one. Say, all right, I'm going to do the same thing with the next department. And so, you know, I'll go back up here. So maybe you, so let's go way back up. So maybe you want to go through and really want to spend some time going through these things. And again, for each one, for team culture and leadership building, this is what it said. Maybe for, you know, rules and compliance or budget management, it's going to be someone else. Maybe that one you want someone that is, you know, good at these logistics type things, or you're managing a budget. And it doesn't always have to be real people. That's just what I did. You can just say, I want you to pull from, you know, the knowledge base of everything, or just, you know, give me the best that you can. Doesn't have to be based off of real people. I like the idea of that because now it makes me kind of think, all right, I've got these people kind of working for me and helping me in the background. You can even just give it a persona too, of like, I'm not necessarily want you to be a specific person, but I want you to be this ideal person who is just great at this and this and this. And that's where I think this, you know, adding in these, you know, core philosophies, leadership development, adding all this information, giving it that will help it to kind of create that person for you based off of, you know, whatever it's saying is going to be helpful to know. And then, you know, if we do go the route of saying, hey, I want to actually use these people, whether it's just their influence or them actually individually, You can always do just pick one. Maybe just say, hey, I really like John Wooden. I don't want him to be everything that I do about team culture and leadership. I want it to be based off of him. You could do that, or you can say, hey, maybe I want to use all these people. Maybe you don't do the whole have them talk to each other thing, because that might take a long time to have the 10 of them actually having back and forth conversations with each other. But maybe just say, hey, I want the influence of all these guys, all these coaches. Again, like I said, you can go to think about leadership styles. Hey, I want the leadership styles of these 5 people to all be kind of the same, or I want them to be actually completely different. I want them to complement each other. So there's different ways you can do it. And then non-coaches, you can skip this, you can do this if you like the idea of having some influence of people that are not necessarily college coaches, but are just experts in whatever field they're in. So, we talked about social media and branding. That might be a category where you actually don't have that many coaches, because there might not be that many college coaches that are specifically known for being just awesome on social media. There probably are some, but part of it is you want to pick people that are going to be well known and things that ChatGPT is going to be able to pull from. That's where I think giving it the suggestions of saying like, hey, can you name people? The chances are if they're naming them, they know about them and they're going to be able to use that. Whereas if it's like your buddy, your neighbor that isn't really that famous and hasn't written any books, hasn't done anything on videos, but you really like the way that they think about stuff, that's probably not going to really work to be able to say, hey, my neighbor Joe, can you put him in this team? That's where you're going to have to describe like the philosophy and all that stuff. You can do that, and the other thing is you can like name them. You can make these fictional people and name them and give them these characteristics. You can have fun with it. All right. And then again, you can put more details with how to structure it. I'm not going through all that because it's going to take a long time for me to type that all out. All right, so we got the custom GPT instructions. It gave you a suggested name. So there's a little spot for description. I'm going to put this description. You can edit this, but so it says instructions for the custom GPT behavior. Again, just copy and paste all this and put it into the spot where you're building that custom GPT. Types of requests that it can handle. Example prompts, just giving you a lot of information that can be helpful. So copy and paste this into your custom GPT instructions, test it out, let me know if you want any adjustments. And again, you can always go back and adjust this later on down the road if you're doing this and it's taken a while and you just want to get these all kind of done. You can always go back after you test them and kind of fix them. All right, so that is the example of how you can build your own AI assistants. Go back and, if you want to do this, stay within the project because the project is going to be able to reference things. And so I'd, open a new tab, do your, custom GPT, build that for team culture and leadership. Then let's go to the next one. Say, hey, all right, I want to talk about branding and social media next. What do we need to know to, build this effective AI assistant that I can use in a custom GPT to help with my branding, social media, that kind of stuff. So then you can create them. You make all these. You have, 1, you have 5, you have 10, you have 20, whatever you want to do. You create all those, and then you have them, and then you can, go have chats with them and talk about things and plan and use them as a, someone that you are talking to and again, creating ideas, having it develop stuff for you. Like we talked about this one, maybe it creates a, preseason, leadership plan or something that you could go through with your captains. Something you can do with your team. Maybe you like to have, a little discussion at the start of practice where, you take 5 minutes and talk about something inspirational. Maybe you say, hey, can you plan out, maybe the whole season, maybe you do the whole season. Maybe you say, hey, just for this next week, I want to talk about, this and this. Can you give me, a quick, bullet point summary of some things I can talk about at the beginning of practice that are going to help us with this, and it'll write that for you. And, you can edit it and take whatever you want, but you don't have to start from scratch because you have this assistant that's helping you build this. Now, the cool thing is that once you have these created, you can kind of work with, have them work kind of with each other. There might be ways that you can have them talk to each other that I'm not as familiar with. You could probably do it actually within this project. But when it comes to the custom GPTs, there's probably ways that you can make them talk. But for example, what I'm thinking is maybe we want to, come up with like some bullet points of our leadership philosophy and how we are building up our players in their leadership capabilities. The leadership team here, that's going to help us kind of develop that. And then I take and copy and paste what it created for me, and I have it go talk to the social media team and say, hey, I want to actually create some Instagram posts, maybe some posts on X that help me kind of showcase my coaching philosophy based on these things that we developed. I'm going to paste that into the social media GPT, and it's going to create the social media content. All right. And so you can kind of have them work together just as a real group of assistants would be working together and talking to each other. And, each one would have their own specialized thing that they do and then kind of pass off to the next person. You can kind of use it in that way.
So, Coach, I hope that was helpful. At the end of the day, AI is not going to be replacing coaches. You are still the one in control of your program. You make the final decisions. But I think AI can be super helpful for busy college coaches, and I think that every single college coach is busy. It's a job that just is very demanding. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of hours involved, and it's hard to do. AI is going to be super helpful, and I think the project that we outlined today, at varying levels, however you want to use it, however you want to incorporate it, it's going to help, even if it's just a little bit. And that's what I would suggest. If you are very overwhelmed, if I went over way too much information, you're like, Dan, that's a lot. I don't have time for that. I don't really know, just pick one. Just you start using the ChatGPT with that race, a role, action, context, expectation. Just start using that, every once in a while. And that you can do for free. You don't need to pay for anything for that. You can chat with that. There's limitations on how much you can use ChatGPT per day, but if you're just using it once, twice, 3 times a day, then you can certainly do that. Maybe you say, I just want to create one of these custom GPTs that's going to be my just coaching assistant. And it's going to help me with all these things. It maybe isn't as detailed as, using multiple custom GPTs, but I just got one. I'm going to use it, and that's going to be great. Perfect. Whatever you feel is manageable for you, try it out, and I think you're really going to like how much it can help. If you have questions and you want to kind of walk through this or some ideas you have about doing this for yourself, please reach out. I'm going to put all my information in the spot below. I'll put my email address that you can reach out to me if you have questions or want to set up a call and kind of talk about this. I'll also put all of my other information. I've got a newsletter. I've got this YouTube channel. I'm doing stuff on the other social channels. So wherever you're on, you can follow me there for more AI stuff, as well as follow all the TCS stuff. If you are a college coach, Tutor Collegiate Strategies, follow all of our socials and our newsletter and all that stuff there. And you'll get more recruiting specific advice. Thanks for watching.